What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And today we're giving you our top 8 tips to avoid injury in the gym, because this is a big one. I know a lot of people are scared to do certain movements, to work out, because they don't want to get hurt and they have that fear in their mind. And we're going to show you how to overcome that, because if you're not doing movements, you're not getting strong, you're not building a base, you're not attacking your compounds, you're actually going to be more susceptible to injury as you age. Study after study has indicated that being strong, being healthy, and having ability actually limits your chance of hurting yourself, especially as you age. Frailty is a big issue, and sometimes you could be something as stepping off a curb if you're really old, and unfortunately, if you're really frail, that can be too much for your body, and you get a lot of stability, strength, your bone density improves from lifting. So we're going to show you how to navigate that safely and with confidence, and I'm going to kick that off with number 1, which is to start with proper form and a warm-up. So we're big on proper form. If you don't know, we have about 60 to 80 videos on YouTube, form videos specifically on how to do things the right way. We like to also approach it for how to do things the wrong way, because sometimes if you're like me, it's fun to learn backwards. When you learn exactly what you shouldn't do, it helps you shed a light on exactly what you should be doing, where your focus should be, and where your energy should be applied. So if you haven't checked those out, I definitely recommend it. If there's any movement you see that you're just like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right, go check it out. Search our YouTube, search Colossus Fitness Lat Pull Down. You can see, you get some bonus tips and trips. My second biggest tip is film yourself. Grab a little tripod. You can buy them cheap on Amazon now. Film yourself doing some of your top movements in the gym. Dr. Peter Attia, a longevity specialist in fitness and health, actually says that he films himself for his 10 top sets of every workout and will review it in between sets, so he can bridge that disconnect between what he thinks he's doing and what he's actually doing. And now this is a little bit extreme, but even if you're just saying, I'm going to film one thing each workout, that can go a long way. And that's something I'll have my clients do. I'll say, I want you to film one movement to make sure you're doing this right, and we can do it as best as possible. I'm sure we've all been there where we've hit a PR and you're like, I squat so deep, my squat looks so good. Then you look at the video of it and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so high, I'm lopsided, this is horrible, or I'm benching, it's completely sideways. And that's where it's always good to make sure you are doing this, to make sure you're maximizing your form, you're learning, you're getting tricks. And that's where our YouTube can be fantastic, because it's harder for us to show you over a podcast here. Of course, we have the podcast on video, but it's just me and Kyle talking. So we definitely do recommend checking that out, as that does go a long way. The second thing I'd recommend is a proper warm-up, learning what that is for you and learning what works best for you. I'm not saying you need to spend 30 minutes to an hour warming up. If you have a really crazy history of injury, maybe you need to spend a little bit more time. If you're super healthy, you can go maybe get away with something a little bit quicker, get the blood going, like being on a treadmill, doing some band work, whatever it is. But I at least recommend, like, if no matter what you're doing, do a few workup sets before your first set. Don't just come in and bench, squat, or deadlift the weight you're going to be doing that day. Start with the bar, start with even less, go through the motion with just your body weight, slowly add weight, and do little bites into your working weight. And that is one of the best ways to warm up and get your workout started.
Yeah, warm-ups are honestly so underrated. Just helps with your blood flow, helps you get prepared for that workout. And especially because I know a lot of people wake up and they go to the gym, they work out. Like, it's so important to just wake yourself up and get your body moving before you introduce those heavy weights into your program. And kind of working off of what Josh said before about like the form videos, it's so amazing, especially because we used to be personal trainers where we would stand there, count someone's reps and tell them, hey, your form's looking good. But we found a way to, just make it sustainable, to, help people online and to give them that personal trainer in their pocket without having to be there and set up an appointment and charge you $100+ a session or whatever it is. So with that being said, if you do want to learn more about our coaching, about how we can help you online with your nutrition, your form, your overall workouts, like everything, and just get you some incredible results, click that first link, check out our website, see what we're all about, and fill out a form, and we will absolutely take care of you and get you some next level results there. And next up, something I'm super passionate about, number 3, is just gradually increasing your weight and leaving your ego at the door. I know this is hard for a lot of people, myself included, and a lot of guys that I definitely see. Just people use weight that they can't control, that they can't properly, we're influenced by a lot of different things. Maybe the person we're working out with, maybe someone across the gym, maybe, arch at nemesis, like whatever it is. But there's no rush to be lifting the most amount of weight in the gym. And it's something that a lot of people get injured because they're just using weights that they can't comfortably handle, that their body hasn't adapted to. And I will say, it's definitely easier said than done, especially for myself. But use weight you can control, consistently increase, get to that next level through just progressive overload. But there's no point in jumping if you can barely handle 225 on a squat, putting 315 on the bar and doing a quarter rep, and then just your back rounding, and then just you can't even rack it. It's something I see a lot of people do. So take your time, it'll pay off, and you can definitely avoid injury that way.
Number 4 is to learn to listen to your body. And this is one of my top rated tips. On my Instagram, Ask Me Anything the other day, I was asked, how do I navigate injuries? Do I work through them? What do I do? And what I always like to say is, you know your body best. You can tell me something, but only you know what you are feeling. And the best rule of thumb is, if you feel anything sharp, like a sharp pain, a jolt, stop that movement and assess the situation, and maybe take a break from that movement for the day. Or maybe go back with a much lighter weight, film yourself, and see if there's something you didn't do. Or during that set, did you do something weird? A common issue people will do is they'll get a lot of neck issues, back, trap, any of that, because they're doing a movement, they're under a lot of strain and load, and they'll flick their head over to look at something, and that can be quite dangerous. So it's really important you kind of learn what things are causing you pain and how you can avoid them, and to be a realist. It's so easy to say, oh, I'm going to be tough, I'm going to push through it, I got a little bit of a kink. But if it just happened and you're not feeling good about it, maybe it is better to pack up for that day. But only you can know, because sometimes there are a little bit of something that happens, you get a little discomfort, it won't be sharp, and you go, ooh, that's a little weird, I'm going to keep an eye on it, but I'm going to keep working out. But this is something that does take time to learn. Your body is something that will take time to learn. And the more you work out, the more you'll know your body, and you'll know what's right and what isn't right. And if something feels wrong, don't just keep pushing through it. You don't have to finish that set. Put that weight down safely and let yourself feel a little bit better. So that's my number one piece of advice. Then another bonus tip here is, if something's hurting or feeling off, maybe for whatever reason you got serious tennis elbow, you're just feeling jacked up, maybe take a break from that upper body there. Add an extra leg day and let yourself heal up, ice that up, spend a lot of time. I'm a big believer that we break and we heal. Injury is something that happens, but you shouldn't be snapping your back every time you deadlift. But just because something happens once, or there's a freak thing, it can be a multitude of factors. You could be ultra stressed, you could have bad form, you could be lifting poorly, but you could have also slept weird, and that can cause you to crank your neck a little bit. It's important you learn and rehab that, and rehab as hard as you train. Get back into the gym, learn to work around it, because unfortunately sickness, some degree of injury are a reality. Me and Kyle are fortunate because we lift intelligently, we're smart, we're doing the right amount of programming. We've never hurt ourselves seriously, which is amazing, but little tweaks and pains and odd things will come from time to time, most often not from the gym, but from outside of the gym. And that's my extra bonus tip, if you will. I'm going to add this as a 4.5. When you are doing things outside of the gym, be careful. I remember specifically, I pulled my back one time because I was training my client, and I went to go grab this foam mat from above my head, but I did it with this weird arc, and I pulled back and I just felt a little click. I'm like, oh my goodness. So even when something's light or silly, make sure you're bracing and you're doing things with good form. Make sure you're lifting with your legs, not your back. There's probably a reason your parents yelled that at you as a kid. And it's such a good reminder. I remember distinctly way back in high school, we had a teacher there who was super jacked. He looked phenomenal. He was a beast, and he actually slipped a disc in his back lifting a 5-pound dumbbell from the floor because he just lazily didn't think much of it, picked it up with a bent over back, and he did significant damage. So even though things seem silly or light, lift them intelligently. Go from the legs, squeeze those abs, and go about it the right way.
It's crazy because a lot of times, like Josh said, injuries, you think they take place in the gym, but a lot of it is other things compounded that you've been doing in life that just the second that you pick up that weight, oops, there it goes. And that's why, like he said, like day to day, I was helping him move some bricks the other day. I'm like, proper posture, keep my chest up, kind of treat it like a deadlift, core tight, using the legs. Like, it's funny because it's the stuff like this isn't really taught, and I just see such horrible form day to day. And even when you're shoveling, for example, so many people complain about hurting their back. They go into the gym, they do a couple deadlifts, oh, there it goes, right? So like he said, that's a great 4.5, an amazing tip there. And that's going to bring me into number 5, which is just using spotters and proper safety measures in the gym. Now, this will definitely go more for powerlifting type movements, squat, deadlift, bench press. I see a lot more people getting injured in these type of movements versus like maybe maybe a lat pull down and a bicep curl and tricep push down and stuff like that. But there's so many things to think about. And even just having a spotter is so beneficial. Like, it can just make you feel so much more comfortable. If you're doing a bench press, instead of it falling on your chest and having to roll it down your body or whatever, dropping it to the side, having that person, like, I guess even just being okay with saying, hey, if you don't have a workout partner, hey, do you mind spotting me? I'm going for 5 reps. Like, just make sure I'm okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. The gym community is amazing. And even when it comes to squatting, like, there's so many amazing precautions, like learning how to fail, setting up the safeties that are there for most gyms. Even bench press, there's some safeties for some benches, not all of them, but at least for the squat racks. Like, there's a lot of amazing precautions you can take. And when I go to do a max set or something where it's almost till failure, I feel very comfortable because I've learned to fail. I've set up the safeties. I probably even have a spotter if I have to say, hey, Josh, mind helping me out? Like, no problem at all. But this is something a lot of people don't think about. And we want to avoid injury and think about these little small things that could add up and could injure you potentially.
Just having awareness and being like, am I doing this intelligently? Am I doing this in a way that isn't going to mess me up is half the battle. It's just when people walk in there and do crazy stuff, like something as it is to walk up to your buddies and show that you can deadlift 405 and do it with no warm up, nothing. You got to ask yourself, is it worth it a lot of the time? And just be really realistic with yourself. And I find injuries are easy to avoid when you do go about it the right way. If your body's absolutely destroyed, go in with some extra caution, spend some more time warming up. These are all just bonus little things we want to add in here because we're passionate about it, and you really shouldn't be scared of the gym. It's an incredibly safe, simulated area. What's amazing about lifting as opposed to day-to-day life is you're doing it in such a fixed plane of motion, and you can really optimize that motion. What's hard is when someone's throwing a ball at you or you're picking up brick on someone's driveway. It's so irregular and erratic, and you're moving weird, and what's amazing is the gym is going to prep you to be stronger and safer for that. So that is absolutely something extra to keep on the top of your mind, and that goes into number 6, which is to maintain proper breathing. Breathing is so important because this is how you oxygize a muscle, and a muscle that has oxygen is a healthy muscle that can perform correctly. It goes back to blood flow. Blood flow is such a component of staying safe and keeping a muscle warm, healthy, and just lubricated to do what it needs to do. And breathing is a great way to optimize this. That's why if you hold your breath, you get all red, it doesn't optimize properly. It's really important you learn how to breathe. This should be like a number one thing you do at the start. Understanding concentric and eccentric portions of reps, when to breathe. For powerlifting, there's a little bit of a different breathing, and really learning how to optimize that. It's probably a little bit too much to jump into for this particular episode, but I highly recommend doing some work and diligence, learning effective breath work.
Yeah, the one time that I was actually having back pain in the past, I went to go see someone to help me out, and it was due to just me not properly breathing. I think honestly I was just getting too overwhelmed and too excited. I wasn't focused on it as much, and the second that I changed that, like with a deep inhale and everything like that, it just helped so much. Everything just went away, which is pretty crazy. But just jumping into number 7, not neglecting rest and recovery. Like, this is something that's so underrated. For me personally, I love the term prehab, which is preventative rehab. So a lot of times people wait until their shoulders have any issues to actually do something about it. But for me personally, I'm a firm believer if you're constantly adding in different movements, maybe some mobility, even just pushing yourself through a full range of motion movement consistently will help a ton. But just whatever it is, like, it'll look different for each person. Some people feel incredible with the foam roller. Some people like bi-weekly massages. Some people like just maybe ice baths, like, sauna stuff. Like, whatever that looks like for you, have some sort of routine and make sure to add that in. For me, using my red resistance band, using my lacrosse ball, those 2 things help me a ton. And I feel like it just makes me feel awesome, and I find that that's my form of preventative rehab, and it helps a lot. But you honestly, when it comes down to it, you don't need to be spending hours and hours in the gym a day, 7 days a week. Like, it's so easy, and I don't think this is a problem for a lot of people. But just remember, like, not to overtrain, like, not to be. I used to be like this, like thinking I needed to be in there, and I would just beat myself up, and it's like that's how you're gonna get injured, right? So it's very amazing, and that's the best part about what we do is we can create a routine best based off of someone's situation. Help them, just optimize everything they're doing, not do too much, not do too little. Like, there's a science to just having the perfect routine. And I think that's where some people struggle is like, I don't think everyone's doing too much. Like, I think actually most people are doing too little, but you do have to have the right stuff in place, the right amount of volume within each muscle. Like, there's a lot to think about. So once again, consider hiring us. You will take the guesswork out of the process. Click that first link, fill out an application. What's the worst that happens? But definitely make sure to get your rest and recovery week by week, day by day.
Number 8 is use the appropriate equipment and gear. And if you're wondering what the appropriate equipment and gear is, I highly recommend listening to our Monday episode. We covered what's worth it and what's not. But past that, more than anything, instead of investing in that, invest in a coach. Get someone to show you how to do it right. Someone who can understand and say, hey, you have no idea how to hip hinge. We need to go back a bunch of steps and go about this the right way to help you progress into doing complex movements that are amazing for your health. Deadlifts are absolutely incredible. They're going to build an amazing base of strength. They're going to help you advance forward. Same with squats, but they can be very scary when they're done incorrectly and they're done without uncertainty, and that's how you can cause serious damage. And that's where having a coach can help you get in front of this. As online coaches, we do unlimited form reviews. We'll request form videos. We'll help people progress intelligently. Make sure you're doing a manageable amount of volume to make sure you are progressing at a safe manner, because sometimes being overworked, overstressed, and just doing way too much volume can leave you susceptible to injury. So there's a good way to work around that by knowing with confidence that you have someone overseeing that journey and making sure you're progressing in a really healthy and sustainable way. So once again, to apply for that, click the first link in the bio down below. Also, if you want to learn more about what we do as online coaches, is a great way to go about it. But we thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Get out there, crush those lifts, and stay safe.